Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are breaking down our picks for the top 5 and one worst level 8 cleric spells.
Which does mean we have to make two up.
Yeah, that's well, not technically we could do top 5 and then one of the same ones as the worst, the bottom one of that. However,
I
the
I would like
issue, go
go
ahead.
for it. Continue.
Uh,
Continue.
all right. The issue with this is there are not 5 spells in the cleric level 8 spell list. There are only 4. So my introduction was a bit of a lie.
A little
Today,
bit of a bib.
what are we doing? We're just gonna talk about the spells, and
Sure.
you're gonna
I rank
do the you
mines.
rank mine in order. You rank yours in order. I don't, so I just gotta pick a worst. That's my
Uh,
contribution.
sounds good. Uh
But yeah, you can run this show since you do rank them, and
okay.
we'll see if we both come up with the worst, same
Uh,
worst.
I don't honestly know. I think there are two that are really bad. I think there is
Me
one
too.
that is like, "Ooh, this isn't great," and then there's the last one, which is where we'll start. Let's start with my best.
Yeah.
I think my best is anti-magic field.
Okay. I probably would have picked the same if I was ranking them. Yeah. I think for once our lists are going to be exact. If
Yeah,
I was ranking mine.
I think I don't know where we're gonna sit on this or the last two. I think that's gonna be the most
Yeah.
contentious is those two's ordering because I think they're both bad for different reasons. But anti-magic field is kind of sweet. It sabotages yourself and your friends, but it's also like this catch-all universal answer to all magic, and that's so freaking cool. I think anti-magic field for an 8th level effect, simply saying no more magic in this bubble is really neat. And
Mm.
it's going to do a lot of interactive and engaging things with some monsters and spaces in the world that you just can't otherwise engage with in this manner. This deals with any kind of spells or magical effects. And that makes it uniquely interesting. I love that you can walk into a group of undead and they just collapse into bones, and then you walk back out and they pop right back up. That's super whimsical. I love that you could just be inside of a fireball and it'll just sculpt around the magic. That's so cool. At the same time, given that you're like a 15th level cleric, turning off your 7th level or lower slots entirely is a gigantic cost. So this is going to have a lot of very difficult windows of figuring out when is it right, when do I need to use this to make it particularly good. I think that's really fun, engaging, and interesting decisions. I think it's going to be hard to use well. I think it's going to lead to some fundamental moments, though, and I would recommend it over any of the 8th level cleric spells, very importantly. So,
Yeah. For an 8th level list of any caster, this is a pretty poor one.
yes. I think this made my one of my top spots for Wizard too. I will say, because it would appear the clerics do have a lot worse of a magical spell list, especially in the 7th and 6th level slot, than wizards do. Anti-magic field gets a lot better because they care less about not being able to cast their lower tier stuff because they have access to, worse stuff on average than the wizard does. So this is a little bit better of a cleric spell than a wizard spell because the average spell quality is lower.
Right.
Neat.
But still not. I mean, it's not something you're gonna be pulling out every encounter. This is it's got some niche uses, but
This is a silver bullet against magic effects. I will say, it's less niche than a lot of other of the like silver bullet effects. Magic is very prominent once you pass 15th level. As a DM, how do you answer super big magical nonsense BS? You put more into super magical nonsense BS against them, right? You stick hugely magical monsters breathing fire, or raiding giant angry green. I don't know why tomatoes is what I'm envisioning here, but just huge tomatoes with writhing green tentacles raiding from the sky. Like that's gonna be some high magic fantasy nonsense. And anti-magic field's a pretty great solution to a lot of those problems. I think it's going to be pretty castable at almost every table, and I think that probably earns it as a spot that if you have to reliably prepare 1/8 level spell slot, I think you'll find on average this will be castable more than every other option available to you as far as like it being good.
yeah, I do like that it makes you think before using it. It's not like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's some enemies, fireball,
Fireball.
boom. This is like you gotta weigh the ups and downs. Yes, I am gonna turn off all this, scary monsters' powers. However, I'm gonna turn off half my party's powers as well. But yeah, good times.
Very cool spot.
Uh, that would have been my number one if I was choosing one.
All right,
And
down the
let
list.
me predict your number 2.
Hit me with it.
Sorry. Let me double check. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. It has to be Holy Aura.
No.
No.
Nope. I'm not proud of any of
Wow.
these placements for my second ones. I don't love it. It's not good, but I think it's Earthquake.
Earthquake. That was
Yeah.
the contender for worst for me.
There are 3 contenders for worst. I'm gonna level with you. I'm not particularly pleased to prepare any of these. What I will say that Earthquake does is have so Earthquake is a big minute concentration evocation that does a menial amount of damage to things around it. It makes a bunch of fissures that are pretty big, and it's got a pretty big range of 500 feet around you. Where Earthquake shines is at being a tool of mass destruction. Where Earthquake shines is you go into a town and you go 500 feet around me, so basically a block in both directions. We're gonna level it, and you Earthquake it, and you sit there for a minute, and you cause rampant destruction. So doing this in a dungeon, doing this in specific environments that you're sieging or attacking can be beneficial. It knocks a bunch of stuff prone, so you don't want to be really using this in the middle of most combats. Like, this isn't particularly powerful in most of those encounters. The fissures are fine. You get a d6 of them that the DM chooses where they go, but they're big. They're like 1d10 times 10 feet deep. If you're getting like a 60-foot fissure, 3 or 4 of those is huge. That is a pretty neat, big, impactful effect. Structures taking roughly 50 damage is great. Things getting buried in the rubble is pretty cool. Most encounters aren't going to care about this. The encounters that do care about it, you're often going to be on the team that's trying to stop the rampant destruction, not cause it. But in the window where you are trying to cause the rampant destruction, it's fine.
I mean,
think.
I guess I'm just more old school. If I want to destroy a town, I'll set it on fire.
Traditional.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we used fireball to blow up towns, and we liked it.
Yeah, and that's why it was. I don't think it was my worst, but no, well, it's not. Um, but yeah, the reason it was a contender is because I mean, the only use for it I could think of is mass destruction of structures and things, and I don't. That's not happening that often.
That's true.
And there
I
are
will say, like,
other means to destroy buildings. I don't.
so this is means of destroying buildings is 50 hit points times 10 because it's 50 at the beginning of each round within 500 feet. So dealing 500 damage to every structure within 500 feet of you, that's a huge amount of damage to structures.
Yeah.
That will bring down cities. There will be castles that don't withstand that and are rubble after this. I'm actually surprised for like someone that loves the world building stuff with like Wall of Stones and whatnot, that this kind of permanence doesn't excite you, because this is like a rules as written mechanic for leveling big areas, and that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's very narrow though. You don't usually want to be doing it.
And I want to build. I don't want to destroy.
That's fair. Listen, I'm not over the moon about this.
No,
I want to make it very clear
I
that
get that. Yeah.
this isn't good in 90% of adventuring environments, but the 10% it's gonna be fine.
Well, I was not expecting Earthquake as your number 2. So hit me with number 3. Tell me that's Holy Aura. Is Holy Aura your worst?
Listen, they're close. So here's what I will say is I think either of the next two, Control Weather or Holy Aura, can be the worst depending on your table.
Yeah.
So Control Weather is where I currently have my 3. And the reason Control Weather is my 3 is because it has an 8-hour duration. And while the effect probably is reasonably like 6th level in applicability, like I don't want to be spending an 8th level spell slot to help navigate the open seas. It does do that in a pretty meaningful way. Being able to take torrential rain, driving hail, or a blizzard to clear sky in like 10 minutes, that's pretty good. I don't hate that. It will pretty clearly and easily solve a large chunk of extreme hazard conditions. By this tier, they're probably not that much of a problem. That's the big problem with Control Weather for its cost. I think there will be some tables that will still have this challenging environment, where you're going into an unbelievably cold Arctic environment and you need to have a way to keep 5 miles around you safe. This does that. Going against a lot of big layer action, or sorry, not layer. Yeah, I think they're things that have layers have regional layer effects typically. So like dragons, like an Arctic dragon might have blizzards around the area, ice storms. This is a solution to those ice storms. That's not nothing. That can be usable in an actual way in to say, there's no way to journey here without teleportation. We need to get these boats here so we can take back the prisoners that the white dragons captured or whatever. You go, great. I control weather when we get there. That's so niche, but it's good in that instance. And there aren't a lot of spells in the game that necessarily let you do large-scale mobilization stuff for this cost. Is it the worst? Maybe. It might be worse than Holy Aura. It's certainly not the best, and I think at some tables it'll be fine. So you rate this lower than Holy Aura?
Yeah, just, I mean, controlling, it's one of these effects that in the real world, it would be pretty amazing, and you know, you'd make a lot of money. You know, I'm going to make it rain in the desert, you know, whatever, grow some crops. But in a D&D setting, that I can't think of an instance. I mean, you're talking about the dragon layers and stuff, and yeah, I guess that could happen. But I can't think of an instance in any game I've ever played where the weather mattered.
Yeah. And also then you have to consider is, if I'm going into the layer of a dragon, is spending my 8th level spell slot getting there worth it? And the answer is probably you just suffer through the ice storm.
Wear a coat, you know?
Yeah, like, it has to be some pretty extreme weather for this to be able to get justifiably cast. Again, if this was like a 5th or 6th level spell slot, I'd be like, okay, we're in the mid tiers. This is a way to take the boat places before teleportation's on the table, but you got so many better
Also,
options than
this is a way, you know, now the frost dragon sees you coming from 5 miles away.
Yeah.
So hey,
they're like, oh, why is the weather there not happening?
Blotch of nice weather over there.
Yeah. I also this spell has so many words and tables, and it just feels like, I guess it doesn't have that many words, but it has some tables as like these are the conditions that they go between. I guess it's fairly concise. I just feel like there had to be a more potent way to do this. If I want to control weather, I feel like I want to be able to say instantaneously right now there's lightning on you, right? There's no mode that does that in this text. There probably should be for its spell slot level. There's not, though, and that makes it quite bad.
Yeah, it's not like there are spells, you know, call lightning where you can do that.
So you divined what my worst is, judging by there are only 4 of these.
Yes.
Listen, I'm not saying it's the worst spell ever printed, but I do have Holy Aura down here. Why do you think it justifies a higher level spell? Why do you think this is better than Control Water or Control Weather and Earthquake?
See, I don't know. I gotta go back and look at what it does. Have I completely missed? Let's see. All right, divine light, yada yada yada. All right, disadvantage. This is something I could see being used. That's, I mean, between these 4 spells, I mean, yeah, even including anti-magic field, this is something like you get a reliable effects. You might want to use this. The you know, earthquake and control weather almost never. Anti-magic field situationally. But this, when creatures of your choice have advantage on saving throws, other creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls, and then the undead thing I could take or leave. But yeah, if those are effects that you care about in a fight or something, then okay, you have this option. It's not amazing, but it's something, which is more than I can say for earthquake and control weather most of the time.
I think Control Weather, you might be right. Control Weather might be so niche, it's on the verge of uncastability. I will say that both Anti-Magic Field and Earthquake, in the situations where I want them, they are far higher impact than Holy Aura ever can be. Holy Aura's ceiling for an 8th level spell slot is quite low. It will feel like an asymmetrical sort of imposing disadvantage on a large amount of creatures sometimes. The 30-foot radius isn't particularly large, and it being attached to concentration means you can't have other concentration effects up while you're doing this, which makes in combat particularly is where I go, I don't know if I want this, namely because I want like Conjure Celestial or sorry, Summon Celestial or Conjure Celestial, either of those. I want those up more regularly. I want other Bulwark style defense concentration effects up on my clerics more often than Holy Aura. Holy Aura is something that you don't really, I don't really think you need it. It encourages fireball formation a little bit. 30-foot is a pretty wide radius, granted. It's not the end of the world. It going off isn't the end of the world either. I can't get excited to put Holy Aura in my character sheet. I can't really get into the vibe of it, how much better is this than Bless. I don't think the answer is particularly high. I think a D4 on your attack rolls as opposed to disadvantage on the enemy attack rolls is that big of a difference. And Bless is a first level spell that has a minute duration. This is an 8th level spell that has a minute duration. Both at your concentration. I don't know.
All right,
I don't
I was
see
going to look it up. Bless eats your concentration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see this being a high enough upside to justify the concentration on it. So while this, I think you're right, generally speaking, in a vacuum with no other spells on your character sheet, this probably is the most castable. Like, you'll get benefit out of it consistently. I don't think I want to cast it, is where I'm at. I want to cast the 8th level spell slots that if I'm in an environment where I need an earthquake, where I need to bring down this tower around me, Earthquake does that, and does it in something no other spell can do. Holy Aura isn't doing anything a lot of other spells can't do, and its cost of eating your concentration in 8th level spell slot just seems too steep for me to actually want to ever cast this. So it might be the most castable, yet least useful of all of these spells to me. That I think should be a Cleric's got it rough in the 8th level spell department.
Yeah.
I think is what the viewer should take away from this.
Yeah, I mean, all your arguments are solid. And I think mine are too. We rate these for different reasons, and that's okay.
Agreed. It's
Well,
cute that it blinds undead, I guess, and fiends.
I didn't even bother reading that part of the text. I got fiends, maybe.
Undead, I mean, against large amounts of undead, sure.
Yeah.
It helps that it has to be a melee attack, so I kind of take it back. Like, you need to be getting bodied by undead, and if you're getting bodied by undead, the effect ends. And then whenever the effect ends, the blindness goes away. So you're like, I don't know how usable this actually is, because undead tend to be in large quantities, but whatever. Hey, that's not the bulk of the text here. The bulk of the text here is very fine. It's text you can get elsewhere. It's not. I'm not over the moon about it. Well, I'll rearrange it. I do think that this isn't so bad that I'm trying to think. If I'm comparing it to a first level spell slot, and I'm like, is that better than Control Weather? And I'm like, maybe. I don't know. My bottom two probably can get rearranged in any order depending on my mood in the day, but I definitely think Earthquake is higher ranking than both those, and I think Anti-Magic Field's a pretty clear winner out of all of this.
Yeah. I will say you made good arguments, but I am shocked. This is the one I thought, this time we're totally gonna see eye to eye. Our list will be identical. But wow, I don't think they could have been more opposite.
You said Anti-Magic Field's probably your number one, and there's only 3 other options to go through there. But yeah,
I was really on the fence between Anti-Magic Field and Holy Aura.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Anti-Magic Field does so many things another spell can do, though.
Yeah,
that's the difference. This is an 8th level. You're spending an 8th level spell slot.
I'm not.
That's fair. Exactly. You're not spending an 8th level spell slot on Holy Aura and being excited about it. I don't think.
Yeah, I guess. No, yeah. Anti-Magic Field has to be the top spot. That's the only one I would like. But yeah, it's
like
not castable all the time. But when I do cast it, there's going to be for specific reasons, and I will be excited to cast it.
I think if this is competing in the same realm as something like Animal Shapes, which is a spell that I love dearly, that is super broken and abusable, where you turn a bunch of commoners into giant scorpions and fly off into the sunset with them and murder things from underground after burning them in as hamsters or whatever. That spell is really munchkiny and fun and super high power and does something that no other really spell can do. I think Anti-Magic Field's on that axis. I don't think any other spell here is really on that axis outside. Earthquake kind of is, but again, it's in a very small window of actual circumstances where it's providing that really powerful effect. Structure damage isn't something that D&D typically cares about all that much. So that's why it's my number 2. It's the closest to that level kind of spell. I want my 8th level spells to do big, exciting, powerful, new things.
Yeah.
And Control Weather and Holy Aura just don't do that to me. Maybe I think it's entirely reasonable if your opinions are different, though. I think that, Bob, your opinions are entirely valid. As far as like what's the most castable of these, I think you probably are right in that Holy Aura is the one you can most reliably get use out of encounter to encounter.
All right. Yeah, I guess Earthquake. I guess if you are going against like an army or something,
Bringing
yeah.
a building down around them seems cool.
Well, just the building, but also making a bunch of them prone. That's something. All right.
Technically.
Well, yeah. Yeah, doesn't have to be a super long video. There's only 4 spells on the list, so I guess we'll call it a day there.
Sounds good.
Yeah, go watch our other spell lists. We have cleric levels 1 through 7, or no, cantrips through 7. Uh, by next week we should have the big level 9s, and we've also done all the wizards. And if you're watching this far enough in the future, we'll probably have done some more as well. Go check them out.
If you've got your own opinions, thoughts about like this ordering,
yes.
Bob and I are very different on this. I'm sure there are other people that have other opinions too, as to like anti-magic field's actually never castable in my games. I've never seen it once come out to use. It's my number 4. Sure, hit me with it. I'm excited to see other people's rankings where they're putting things. It seems difficult at this particular grouping to order them, but hit me with it. I'm curious what everyone says.
I cast control weather every day.
I don't know if I want to be playing at the table, but I'm glad you're having fun.
All right, that was our level 8 cleric spells. See you next time. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.